Welcome to Lanterns Live, the only live stream YouTube channel dedicated solely to Green Lantern. I'm Ralph. I'm joined again by Vactor, which means we are talking about not Green Lantern Corps. We're talking about Green Lantern proper.
Ooh.
Usually, so Green Lantern, this is Green Lantern 600. The number on this book is Green Lantern 33. And Will is not here because Will is traveling to Florida. He has the link to the stream studio. So if Will finds time, he will join us. But I told him it's not a priority. You do not have to show up if you do not want to, or if you just can't, because he is off to Florida and he's getting married.
Whoa!
So congratulations to Will.
Congratulations, Will.
I kind of, as much as I would love to see him today, like, I want him to spend all the time he wants with his bride-to-be. I want to congratulate him. I want to say today is more than just a celebration of Green Lantern. It's a celebration of Will and his growing family. So congratulations to Will. We'll definitely see you within, with Green Lantern 34. So there's that. I also wanted to mention that for folks who are not watching this live, first of all, you missed just a riveting, 6 minutes or 5 minutes of just Vactor and I trying to sort out the numbering system on the Green Lantern thing for the Kindle. But also, after the show, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Grant Morrison and his follow-up to his just sort of meltdown on Substack. So if you'd like to see that, you could join me on the live stream. I don't know how you'll do that. I'm speaking in the future. Join up as a member of the Honor Guard. If you join on YouTube, you can get the full unedited live stream as it goes out live. 99 cents. You'll get bonus material. And it's usually a lot of fun. And if you want to know what kind of stuff I talk about, in the bonus sections, after the show, check out my TikTok. Check out, my Instagram, because I usually pull some shorts from those, to post those onto those platforms. I'm at Lanterns Live everywhere, and except Twitter, because it was already taken. So check it out, because we're going to be talking about Grant Morrison after we're done with this episode. And if you don't want to pay the 99 cents, I totally get it. And you still want that content, easy peasy, hit the bell icon and join us live, because we always do the bonus content live for people who take the time out of their day to join us, to talk about Green Lantern and chat with us in the side chat. So that's the commercial. Vactor, we rarely talk about Green Lantern. You're usually on for Core. And I'm excited to chat because this is an interesting issue. It's a fun issue, and I consider it a celebration of Green Lantern. This is Green Lantern 33, which is like volume 5 or 7. I've lost count. But in the grand scheme of things, with Green Lantern, this is the legacy number 600. This is the 600th. DC deems this a 600th issue of Green Lantern. And we have, 5 stories, I believe, with the majority written by Jeremy Adams, with art by people from various histories of Green Lantern. And then we also have a story, and I am really excited to talk about this one, is the return of Ron Mars and Daryl Banks doing a Kyle story. So, man, let's chat. Yes. What are your thoughts just on the Green Lantern 600?
Well, this series in particular, this volume, I should say, you really had a lot to do with getting me back into it when it first started back up again. And that was before I had caught up on the Green Lantern animated series. So when I saw, now I'm blanking on his name, Razor,
Right.
I was like, who is this? I don't know. Like, he's blue, and I was like, what's going on here? But now I have this more context, and this feels like like we're in the middle of this great run right now with Jeremy Adams, and getting to 600 is such a great milestone. So this is, I'm feeling really good about the Green Lantern book overall. I'm really happy.
Yeah, Raider says right here, Kyle Rayner finally getting some love again. The Return of Mars and Banks is a bonus story. I'll take it. Listen, I have a lot to say about that bonus story, and I can't wait to get into it. But first things first, I'm going to pop open the book just on my end so I remember everything that happened.
Yes.
The first story is I Love L.A., Jeremy Adams with Zermanico as the artist. Listen, this story opens up where we left off Green Lantern 32, and it's Hal basically telling Kyle like he is now sort of the groundskeeper of Earth, and it opens. We get that little bit of a flashback, which what we saw last issue. But look at this. Here, I'm gonna share my screen. I'm trying to figure out Riverside still, but I think I pretty much got a handle on it. 1 week later, the 40510 interchange. Oops. I know where that is. I drove right by it yesterday. So for me, I have some stuff to say. I'm gonna do a short. I've written the script for a short, and I can't wait to talk about it because it has to do with the show Lanterns, and it has to do with Green Lanterns on Earth. And with the exception of like Jeffrey Thorne, every single Green Lantern milestone run, whether it's John Broome, whether it's Danny O'Neill, whether it's Marv Wolfman or Gerard Jones, Ron Mars, Jeff Johns, Jeremy Adams, and Grant Morrison, all of their runs start with Green Lantern on Earth. And this issue starts in L.A., which is where Kyle first started back when Ron Mars and Daryl Banks were doing the books and introduced Kyle. And this feels like a brand new beginning. This book felt like a jumping on point for people who haven't read Green Lantern. I think this is a great jumping off point. We get the origins of Kyle, partially. We don't get the fate of Alex, which is we'll talk about in a second. We also get the origins of Hal Jordan. Two main key players. We get a little bit of Krona, and we get a little bit, of like where Kyle's at. So there's a great jumping on point. And for anybody who knows Green Lantern, the best way to get somebody into Green Lantern is start on Earth, get people acclimated with what they are like, because there's like a lot of lore. There's like 86 years of Green Lantern lore. Like, it's always good to tell people, hey, watch this or read this because it's starting on Earth, and you'll get a good sense of the people, and then introduce the power ring and the core and all of the ideas and lore and different cores that are out there. It's good to get them acclimated with these people first before they get into the larger galactic scale. And the show Lanterns, no different. So, I'm really excited because this definitely feels like a new dawn of Green Lantern. And it says it right at the beginning of the book. One of the first things you see in the book is basically Kyle taking over. It's Kyle taking over, which is something that Kyle Rayner fans have been waiting for a really long time. or at least Kyle Rayner fans, which I am. Which I am. It felt almost surreal reading this book for me, because Kyle hasn't been in the forefront in a really long time, since probably Green Lantern New Guardians, where Kyle had his own book.
Yes.
If you haven't read Green Lantern New Guardians and you're a Kyle fan, can't recommend it enough. Highly recommend it. If you have like the DC Unlimited app, I'm sure it's all available. Great book. So for me, yeah, this felt, I mean, even not even like a celebration of Green Lantern, but a celebration of Kyle Rayner. Like 100%. And, being a Kyle fan, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. The stories themselves were okay. They're really lighthearted. Gosh, I keep on forgetting Odyssey. And Kyle looking for an apartment in Los Angeles is, as basic of a story as you can get. Then we get the background. He gives a quick origin story of himself and how he became a Green Lantern. Talks about him being an artist, talks about him, meeting Alex. There are shots of Kyle in his small apartment, or on his house when he was a kid, his apartment when he was younger, with Alex, and he is painting in his studio apartment, and you can see behind him a refrigerator. Now, they don't get into it, and I know there's a whole deal. So for any new readers out there that are reading Green Lantern 600 for the first time and are being introduced to Kyle Rayner, maybe go back to, God, it's probably like Green Lantern 53 from the 90s, and see what happens to Alex. So Alex, gets killed by a major force, and he shoves her in Kyle Rayner's refrigerator. Now, this is a thing that I want to say is a Gail Simone. I could be wrong.
That's right.
Came up with the term fridging, and it's become sort of a shorthand term, meaning just a love interest, a woman that is just there to be a martyr for the superhero, to be angry and have character.
Yes.
It's mentioned, it's referenced in the She-Hulk TV show. She-Hulk, she mentions fridging, doesn't explain what it is, but it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts that there's this thing that is basically like a stain on comic books, came from Kyle Rayner's story. And as we were getting this great, VK Marion, artwork of Kyle's past, he did the art for that section. Like we have like 5 different artists or something on this book, but they all took one section. I'm loving the flashback being in VK Marion's anime style.
Yes.
I think that's fitting for Kyle's backstory, because I could see Kyle telling his backstory, and in his brain, when he looks at it, it's got an anime kind of look to it. So I thought that was perfect casting, I guess, for the artist for that series. But I was getting really afraid. I'm like, are they going to talk about Alex? And they didn't. I was waiting
for it.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I was afraid they were going to sort of retcon it as if it didn't happen, or do something different, which they didn't, which is good, because that would just make things, I think, worse. Like, and I don't know if they would just want to like bring it up again to like open old wounds or whatever. It is a story. It did happen in the books, and they kind of shied away from it. I'm curious. I'd like to talk to Jeremy Adams about like the thought process of the backstory of Kyle in this issue, because I think it is necessary. I mean, I don't even think he had to introduce Alex into the story. Right? I don't think he needed to,
Yeah.
But also, he probably, like, it's one of those things, like, if she's not there, people are going to say, why isn't she there? But since she is there, you have to tell that part of the story. I don't know. What did you think? What do you think? What are your thoughts on Alex being in there and shying away, I guess, or
yeah, it is one of those, like,
tiptoeing.
You're kind of messed up either way. If you do include it, then people are going to be, oh, why did you include this, such an infamous part of his history? And then if you don't, like was not shown here, it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Why didn't you bring up something that is known about Kyle Rayner? Like, that's one of those touch points. That's one of those main bullet points that you know about Kyle Rayner. He's an artist. Yeah. His girlfriend was Fridge. Like, those are the things that you go down the list of people who I think either have a slight knowledge of Kyle Rayner or have a large knowledge of Kyle Rayner. So where do I land on it? I was kind of anticipating it as I was reading it. I was like, okay, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Because why are they bringing it up, specifically calling out? And then when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, okay. It didn't really bother me either way, but I think you're just caught between a rock and a hard place. It's like, no matter what you do, I think Jeremy Adams, somebody is going to hate it. Somebody is going to be upset. Somebody's going to be in the comments. Right. I don't think there's anything, you could do. I think it was handled well. And for somebody who's a new reader, maybe go watch a YouTube video about that time. Because it's like that. Yeah. What was the Green Lantern, that you had a great episode on it where the guy has done some shady stuff and his Green Lantern is not available now. And it's like, you can't read that Gerard story Jones. Anymore. Yeah. So I think that the fridging thing is one of those things, like, it happened. There's a history. You can go read up on it, but maybe it's better left unsaid, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. So Alex is part of Kyle's origins. Agreed. Her death played a big part in his development. Agreed. As the series went on, you can't erase her. You can't. Which is why Jeremy Adams added her. And if you look here, you see the fridge in the background. So it is referenced, but the way these panels go, it makes it sound like basically she left him prior to him becoming Green Lantern. Like, he goes to a club to try to reconcile, which is not really how it's played out in the books back then. There is time where she is spent with Kyle and he is Green Lantern. So it is a little bit different. It's not really retconning. After he gets the ring, we don't see what happens after, so we don't know if in this version they do get back together.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the exact events of if they broke up prior to him getting the ring and then got back together. It's been, I think, about 2 years since I started rereading Kyle's story. So yeah, it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's, there's people like me who remember the book, read the book and thought nothing of it. There's folks like Gail Simone who brought up this point, and it's not necessarily just because of this story. She was using it as an example that happens in a lot of books. Even if you read Earth 2 Green Lantern, Alan Scott's story on Earth 2 is very similar. He has a boyfriend that gets killed, and it's one of those things where it's just an example of maybe not the most original writing if you just set up a love interest only to have them, knowing full well that you're writing them to have them be killed so that the hero can have something to brood about. Right. So, it's not basically just because of this. It just was like, this is the example, and a term got attached to it, which was a major part of Kyle's story. So, I don't know if we're going to get more flashbacks from Kyle, but for me, here's the thing. For people that want to know more about Kyle and his backstory, this is the perfect commercial for people to go back and pick up Green Lantern 51 and go read. Those are available digitally. Go back and read Kyle's full origin. So even with Hal's story doesn't have everything in it, but it's short snippets and stuff that give you enough of a tease to kind of know who he is. And if you want to know more, go read Jeff John's Secret Origins. Go back and read Showcase 22. There's plenty of places to find these things. So I feel like for a jumping on point for people who have not read these characters, like anyone who reads this and wants to know, because they leave it on a cliffhanger with Kyle trying to get back together with Alex. So anyone who's brand new is going to go to Google and said Kyle Rayner and Alex, and then they'll get their answer on what happened.
Yes.
So the stuff is, back then things weren't available to us, and now they are.
Yes.
Now there. We can have access. We have Wikipedia and everything. So, we have everything at our fingertips. So I feel like that story was just like a basic, here's what you need to know about Kyle Rayner.
Right.
So, no,
and
I
wonder how much is Jeremy Adams, setting up his run. Is he going to use, is there going to be something that is, it's almost like a lot of times previously on Lost, like you get the element of the story that we know is, I know we're going to see that character again because he was in the previously on.
That would drive me nuts, because you would see a character from someone else's flashback knowing full well, like, okay, so this is a Kate flashback. Why are they showing Cassidy from Sawyer's flashback? And I'm like, great. So now I know that Cassidy's also going to be in Kate's flashback. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, yes. So I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know if Jeremy Adams plans on doing more flashbacks of Kyle, or if he's just ready to go.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to follow.
Yeah. I'd love to have him on. I did invite him today. He is a very busy dude. I said, hey, if you can't make it, fine. If you can, great. I'd love to talk to him. I think that's my number one thing is there had to have been some sort of committee where he talked to maybe other Green Lantern writers and say, how do I tackle this? It needs to be we need people to know his past, but how far do we go? Because it is a thing, and there's nothing you can do about it now. And once that you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, fridging is a term.
Right.
And the origins of it evolve around Kyle. So you know what? I know the story of Kyle. So I know full well what happened to Alex. So I'm not going to complain. The only thing I hope is that anybody who's interested goes and reads it for themselves, because I highly recommend folks go back and read Mars's run on Green Lantern with Kyle Rayner, the early days. A lot of it took place on Earth. I'm just gonna talk about this because I like the Hal Jordan origins. All of these were written by Jeremy Adams, with the exception of one book. I like the Hal Jordan origins. The Dan Jurgens art for that. It was comforting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, comics don't look like this anymore. And it was kind of nice. I'm a big Mike Allred fan. I have a bunch of Mike Allred original art on my wall.
Yes.
Because back when he was doing Madman in the 90s and stuff, that was the heyday of big pouches and 100 bullet shells on every panel coming out of gigantic guns and straps on legs and weird face masks, like those boxing sparring masks and stuff. That was going on in the 90s. We all remember it. But Mike Allred was doing Silver Age style artwork. So for me, as much as I love Zermanico, beautiful artwork. So beautiful. His stuff was just incredible. V. Ken Marion's anime style, absolutely loved it. I thought everybody did a great job. But when I got to the Dan Jurgens pages, I'm like, oh, this feels like comic books from when I was a kid, or when I go back to read Silver Age, old Green Lantern stuff. And so I was really I was like, oh man, this feels like a nice, warm, cozy blanket.
Yes.
But then we got to the Ron Mars story, with Kyle and the Daryl Banks artwork, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my Kyle. Like the Kyle from the 90s is back. And I was actually like, I wouldn't say emotional, but I was definitely like, man, like I miss this. The classic suit Kyle, with the big chunky gauntlets and the knee pads and like all of that stuff. The classic logo, which I have a tattoo of that logo on my arm.
Nice.
Absolutely just was like, oh, such a warm blanket. And we'll talk about this story for a little bit. Basically it's Kyle Rayner. They tell you that it's not a specific time or place. It's just kind of, this is a story that happened. And it's Kyle basically in the middle of doing a painting. And basically gets called to help out two rookies. Right? And it's not like the craziest story. Like as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, this isn't like super engaging or anything. It's just a basic story. It almost reminded me of like Green Lantern, the animated series. I think it's episode 3 or 4, where they're trying to save a ship from going into a black hole. It's the first time we see Aya in her physical form. And it reminded me of that. It's basically those guys struggling to stop this ship from falling. And Kyle Rayner comes in and basically is like, hey, you rookies have your problems. I'll show you how it's done. And he even struggles with it. This ship almost looks exactly like the ship from that Green Lantern, the animated series episode.
Yes.
So basically it's a basic premise to a thing. And I'm like, it's fun to see Mars back because it feels like Ron Mars writing back in the 90s. And then that's clearly Daryl Banks' artwork. His Kyle is very, very specific. Like that's the Kyle I grew up with, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's a fine story. And then something happened where Kyle Rayner introduces himself and the two rookies are like, yeah, we know you. Everyone knows you. You're the torchbearer. And it does this whole thing where it's just this love letter to Kyle and how like Kyle was the only lantern and he brought back the Corps from basically extinction. And like doing like basically, and they say it, everything you see today is because Kyle endured and Kyle like fought and he wasn't perfect. I love that they talk about how he talks about how he made mistakes. He's not a perfect person. He just tried to do his best and do whatever he could in any situation. I love the shot of the constructs with Hal, Guy, and John. And basically it's Kyle talking about how there was a lot of people before him and there's a lot of people after him. And it almost felt like Ron Mars saying, here's my slice of Green Lantern. This is the time period I was doing Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And there's all those people that came before him. And there's going to be Green Lantern story after. And it felt like it was just a nice story talking about celebrating Kyle Rayner, where he fits in all of Green Lantern lore, and celebrating the fact that he did make a difference. And so it really felt like Daryl Banks and Ron Mars, like, you know, like it felt a little meta to me, you know.
And I think
like,
that this was a good issue to do that in.
It was perfect. It's like almost like they've already passed on the torch and they gave us Kyle Rayner and set him up and did everything they need to do for everything to move forward. And now that we're kind of on the other side of Kyle's, it's been probably 30 years. Kyle's been around since like what, 95 or something?
Yeah. The
Something
fridging
like that.
happened in 30 years ago. There was 2024 was the 30th anniversary. I just saw an article on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been around for about 30 years. Yep.
Yeah. And so in this issue, we start off with Kyle still saying like, "Oh, I still feel like the new guy." He's always had that doubt.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome, always in the shadow of Hal, John, and Guy. After Rebirth, Jeff Johns was smart enough not to just kill all these guys off, just to have Hal come back. And then being able to like be colleagues and understand each other to the point where Hal says, "It's all yours now. Take care of Earth. I have stuff going on." So yeah. Yeah. Ian Hart's here. He's in all of my live streams. Yeah, you have to know Green Lantern. I mean, hopefully you can pick up a book. If you get a chance, Green Lantern 33, which just came out today, is what we're talking about. It's the legacy number of Green Lantern 600. It's the 600 issue of Green Lantern. It's a great jumping off point, if you want to, come on board. So I highly recommend it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I got to say that the ending of that Ron Mars story was also like, I felt like what you were saying, he's telling you about, okay, this was my contribution. This is who Kyle was and who I wanted him to be. And also it's kind of for our modern times, for what we're going through right now. I felt like that last shot was very poignant. He said, "This is what I've learned. Even when you're surrounded by darkness, you can be the light. Always be the light." And it's like it's ending on a positive and an optimistic, hopeful note. So I thought that was a great way to end the book, and say this was the 600th. Let's celebrate. And then now let's look to the future of where we're going next with Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And this, I don't have a personal connection to Kyle in the same way. I wasn't reading comics as profusely as I am now. Like I was reading X-Men, Spider-Man, like certain bits and pieces, and I wasn't as expansive as I am now. So Green Lantern just wasn't one that was in my wheelhouse or wasn't in my neighborhood. So Kyle, I never caught on, and it's nice for me to look through your eyes and to see it through, and Will's as well. I see him as another torchbearer for Kyle. He's always talking about Kyle's my guy, Kyle's my dude, and I like seeing that through both of your eyes. Like this character means something to both of you, and it makes me like the character more than because I don't have that personal connection.
So basically, when I was a kid, Green Lantern #1 started in 1990. I read that. It was the first comic I ever got. And I started reading it when I was 13, but I started going into high school and stuff, and I really kind of dropped off after a little bit. Kyle Rayner did appear in Green Lantern 48. He was set up there. In Green Lantern 51, that's where you first get his uniform, the black and white and green uniform. And that cover got me back into reading comics. And so, like, again, 2 years ago, I decided, I'm going to revisit that run. I haven't read it in a while. And also I ended up dropping off for a while. Like after Kyle was there for a while, I stopped reading because, life, and I met my wife in 99 and stuff. And so I really wanted to go back and read that whole run. I started doing that about 2 years ago. Started with Green Lantern 1, and I think I'm on like issue like 125 or something. Oh, like wow. I'm pretty deep into the run. I'm now I can tell I'm getting close to Rebirth. I'm just I'm like, I think like 20 issues away from getting to Rebirth. And so for me, Kyle was basically the one that got me sort of back into comics and getting into back being reacquainted with Green Lantern. Like I got these PVC characters and because Kyle Rayner was in it. And so like it's one of those things where like if I didn't pick up that Kyle book, I probably would never have picked up Green Lantern again. Even though I did fall off a little bit before Rebirth, Jeff Johns again came in and gave us Rebirth, and then probably the greatest running Green Lantern history, which is since Rebirth, #1, which I bought just because I'm a sucker for #1s. That got me back into Green Lantern monthly.
Nice.
There's a little bit in there where I wasn't reading Green Lantern again, which I tend to fully like get back on board. I haven't read Jeffrey Thorne's whole run on Green Lantern. He's the only guy, when I looked it up, he's the only guy that started Cosmic.
Okay.
But also Venditti started Cosmic and Not on Earth. But Venditti was picking up exactly where Jeff Johns left off. And I think Jeffrey Thorne was picking up in the middle of a story that was left off. I love the passion you have when you talk about Kyle. I love Kyle. Listen, like Kyle came at a time. This might sound like a sappy story. My dad left my mom in 94. Gave us the divorce papers 2 days after my 18th birthday, assuming that he just didn't want to pay child support, so he waited. That's how I think of it. So this is back in 95. So I have not gray hair, but I'm a black hair teenager in high school at this time, right? And that's around the time Kyle started. So I was like, I'm going to pick up a book. Green Lantern looks cool. He looks hip and like he's got an attitude. And I read it, and when I started reading it, I'm like, oh, he likes to spend his days drawing, which was basically me. That's all I did in high school was like the page in this book.
Yeah.
I was in the back of the class and I would draw pictures in my notebook. That's all I would do. And so it's with Kyle, it was one of those things where I felt a connection. As much as I love Green Lantern, and I've been a Green Lantern fan since I was a kid and watching Super Friends, as much as I love Green Lantern, I just liked him as an idea, as a character, but never was felt any sort of connection to Hal Jordan. I never really wanted to be a test pilot. I didn't think I was going to be a test pilot. I didn't gravitate towards John because I didn't really want to be an architect or a Marine or any other thing. And Guy Gardner was just an a-hole, and I definitely didn't want to be that. But for me, I think this is why so many people like Spider-Man is that he's relatable. He's a kid. He's got real problems. And I'm assuming that's maybe one of the reasons why you gravitate. You mentioned X-Men. You read X-Men when you were younger and Spider-Man and stuff. I'm assuming because they have relatable stories. They have real world problems. And for me, Kyle Rayner was a way to like see myself in a book at a time when I needed escapism left and right.
Yes.
Opening those pages and reading about this kid in school drawing and getting a Green Lantern ring for no reason whatsoever. Literally, Ganthet was like, he's the closest person to my vicinity. You'll just have to do. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't have to be a brave Marine or test pilot. You know, I don't have to be this thing. I could just be a guy. It's like the luck of the draw. And for me, that was really appealing. So with Kyle, like I really connected with Kyle. And in 99, just months before I met my now wife, I was so in love with Kyle that I got the tattoo. I'm gonna see if I can get my sleeve up on her, but this has been since 99. I have the Kyle Rayner tattoo.
Yeah.
Because I felt like at that time in 99, my dad had been gone for like 5 years, and I was out on my own. I had moved out. I was living my own life. I was in an apartment. Darren will know this. I started working at Disneyland. That's where I met Darren. And then that's just became, I was like, I felt such like an individual. And basically when you're kid, you're like, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to smoke and drink and get a tattoo and I'm going to live my life how I want to live it. So that's how I felt. I didn't really drink or smoke, but I did smoke. But I'm like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And, I went to the pages of Green Lantern and I went to the back, the mailbag section, and they had a perfect Kyle Rayner emblem.
Nice.
And, I got it because I was like, you know what? People probably, you have to know who Kyle Rayner is in order to get this, understand this, this symbol. And so for me, just having the symbol on my arm, if anybody asked about it, I would just say, oh, it's a symbol that means, bravery and honesty. And it's like a yin yang. It's got the two colors, that equal bravery and honesty. And so if anybody asked me, I would just tell them that. I wouldn't say, oh, it's a nerd thing. So it was a nice symbol, and it was like, you know, and I think since then I've been like, it's been like one of those things where every year, like, or every time I think about like, my past pre-tattoo, that was a different me than post-tattoo. Cause post-tattoo is being on my own, meeting Stevie, being together for 27 years now.
Nice.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So it's, you know, for me, like, yeah, Kyle is just a comic book character and stuff, but, sort of his ideals and, the way he goes about his life. He's super empathetic. He's compassionate. He tries to do things the right way, even though it might be difficult to do. He makes mistakes, and he allows himself to make mistakes because he knows he could bounce back and learn. So there's, you know, I mean, the tattoo I got because I just wanted to get tattooed, but there was meaning behind it. And it's probably one of the reasons why I haven't gotten a tattoo since. Cause I'm like, this is an ideal for me. It's a symbol. And even though that isn't on the statue and they haven't used this in a while, opening the pages of this book and seeing Daryl Banks draw classic Kyle Rayner with that symbol on his chest, it made me super happy. I was like, this is my dude. I love this dude so much. So
that's good.
Yeah. Oh, Darren remembers when I got the tat. I remember, yeah, Darren, that was 99. I remember you were getting tattoos as well. I remember your tattoos. I think about them all the time. Yeah. At the time, Darren had like a lot of, Star Wars tattoos.
Nice.
They're really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, listen, you know, people latch on to different characters for different reasons. I know like Jessica Cruz is fairly new in the grand scheme of things, and Simon Baz is probably not a lot of people's favorite Green Lantern, but out there's someone who loves that character.
Yes.
And so for me, that's Kyle. For you, Miles, it looks like you got some Miles Morales stuff back there.
Yes. I have a huge connection now to Miles Morales because my wife is Latina and I'm African American. So my son to me feels like Miles now. Like when I'm watching those movies, I feel like I'm watching my son. I feel like that's my connection. On top of, I like Miles as a character. He's just a really cool Spider-Man. But now when I watch these movies, now that I've had my son, it takes on a different layer and there's a different meaning to that character for me. So there's that connection now in my life. So I like when you can have a something that ties to your life, your emotional connection to characters.
It makes it easier to read the books because if you see sort of the struggles in the character that reflect your own struggles, it gives you hope. It helps you like be like, okay, there's a way out of this. There's a way to sort of persevere and stuff. Geez Louise, man. I saw Project Hail Mary, which people are calling like Ted Lasso in space just because it's such a positive experience. I don't know if you've watched Project Hail Mary.
I have. Yes.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it doesn't feel cynical. Like Ted Lasso to me doesn't feel cynical. And so for me, when I pick up a comic book and I read it, I like seeing stories that are like fun and exciting and adventurous.
Yes.
And Green Lantern, I think, is my outlet for that. Like, it's something that I get a kick out of reading every year. I would do this show if I had like 0 viewers, just because I get to chat with you, I get to chat with Will and everybody else. And I've gotten to talk with Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton and Tim Sheridan. And it's
amazing.
Yeah. So as far as Green Lantern goes and celebrating Green Lantern, it's really nice to have a month where we're celebrating Kyle. Because I did not expect that. Based on the cover, because Hal Jordan's front and center on the cover. But yeah.
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 And I gotta... I don't have a lot of bones to pick with this issue, but I think I would have liked a cleaner handoff from Hal to Kyle in that, okay, don't go follow Hal's story also in the background. Just completely hand everything over to Kyle. And that's what I thought was happening. I thought, when we had the proposal opportunity and like, I was like, okay, this is where we're going to make a clean break. Hal's going to go off on his own. But I feel like with this book, Jeremy Adams, he's got both origins in there. We're seeing what's going on with Kyle, but we're also seeing what's going on with Hal. And I just, as much as I like Hal, I want to see, let's go to the next. Like, let's move on.
Right. We have Krona out there. We have Hal's origins, and we have Hal with Jaina. 2 shorter stories. Because I know that Krona thing is still out there. Krona did show up for a little bit in the last issue. I mean, I agree. Listen, I'll take a full Kyle book. But I feel like, now, I don't know anything about anything. I need to get Jeremy Adams on the show to just ask, like, did DC want to make sure that you get Hal in the book because they have a major television show coming out and you can't completely omit him because John over at Green Lantern Corps is getting larger. He's getting put more front and center in that book. So I'm wondering if they didn't want to fully do that. Hal is huge on the cover, but of course this is Green Lantern 600. And you got to have the dude that basically started it. I don't think the 600 includes the Alan Scott run. I could be wrong. But for me, it's like, okay, Hal's front and center on the book because, again, there's a show coming out. But I would love to see just a Kyle book, and I feel like we'll be getting more Kyle. I kind of hope we just get like a, what is that called? The Black Freighter in Watchmen. The backup story in the Watchmen.
The pirate ship.
So for me, I wouldn't mind liking having a Kyle story next month and the backup story of whatever's going on with Krona and Hal. Just a little bonus, like post-credit scene, little added story. But I want the majority of the book uninterrupted of Kyle, and then at the end, tack on a little Hal.
Yeah.
So you have to have Hal in the book.
Right. And I know, like you're saying, it could be something the corporate overlords are saying that you have to have. But if it was me, move him over to Core, move Hal over to Core, and make Kyle the Green Lantern. Like, make him the guy and put all of the... Because that's what I like about DC having legacy characters, where you can actually have the next generation, and it's not always the same guy for the most part. So I wish they would lean into that a little bit more and have the passing of the torch, give us the next for the next generation.
Yeah, and it's funny that we're talking about passing on the torch to a character that's like 30 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's still the new guy. Man, I love this issue for the fact that it was a celebration of Kyle. Yes. We didn't get too much in the individual stories, but I would say, you know what, guys, it's a oversized issue. Drop your $6 and check it out. I think it's worth a read, especially like Ian. If you're not a Green Lantern consumer, give it a shot. See what you think. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's some of the best art we've seen in a long time. Like, everybody was shining on this issue. So there's that. As far as the video replay, if you guys are watching this, that's the end of the show. If you'd like to see more, join as an Honor Guard member. We have a lot of Honor Guard members in here. Dave's in here. I think Darren's an Honor Guard member. So you'll be able to get the full replay, which in a couple, as soon as, like, literally in like 30 seconds, I'm going to be talking about Grant Morrison with Vactor for a little bit. We'll probably talk about like 6 minutes, 5 minutes. Get out of here by 5, Gumby clock. As soon as that goes up to the straight up, that's when we're going to be taking off. So thanks for everybody for joining. Check out the merch. I have this hat has been popular. And then, the Vactor shirt, which I need to get one of those. I definitely need to get one of those. And we have bags and other stuff that you can get. Mugs, Radu's mugs. Speaking of Kyle used to live in an apartment above Radu's coffee shop. You can get a mug from Radu's coffee shop that I meticulously recreated from different versions of that logo that's in the book. So check it out. And if you do read it, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. So until next time, as always, beware my podcast. It's Lanterns Live. Bye.